I would really just appreciate it if my hair would cooperate. Hey y'all, what's up? My name is Kelsey K, otherwise known as KelseyKMUA, and I wanted to thank you so much for being here today. Well guys, you requested it and I did it, so this is our high-end, cool-toned, fall-inspired makeup look. So, I'm really in love with today's makeup, thank goodness, because we're about to go have family photos done. But okay, if you guys want to see how I got this really cool, amazing, beautiful, sexy, like stunning fall makeup look, then stick around and let's get started. Okay guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started with primer. So today for primer, I'm gonna be using the, what is this? I'm gonna be using the Benefit the Professional Matte Rescue Primer. I really like this because it's gonna keep me matte, especially in the T-zone, all day long. So I like this because it's kind of more of a gel consistency, so it almost looks like it's more of a water-based primer. Okay, and so for foundation, I have two different foundations that I'm going to be mixing today because neither of them are really quite my shade, but together they are great. So here I have the Too Faced Do You, the Full Coverage Fresh Glow Foundation in the shade Porcelain, and then here I have the Pure 4-in-1 Love Your Selfie Foundation in the shade LN2. So I'm going to go ahead and mix these together and put them on my face. Oh, okay, so foundation is applied. I'm going to go ahead and now apply some concealer. Okay guys, so for concealer today, I have the Kat Von D. This is the Lock-It Concealer Cream in the shade L1 Neutral. I really like this as like an under eye brightening concealer. It looks very nice, blends in really well, is super full coverage, and I also really like to kind of highlight here along my jawline as well, just so then it kind of makes my contour look a little bit more sculpted. And so I'm just going to go ahead and tap that here into the skin. I'm going to let the concealer under my eyes kind of sit for like another hot second, just so that then when I do go to kind of blend it in a little bit, it's a little bit more tacky for the skin, so it kind of just blends a little bit easier. And it sits well here under the under eye. Okay, so now we are looking nice and concealed. I don't know why I just got so excited about that. Do I need to like back up a little bit? Okay, there we go. Now you can see my whole face. Okay, so next to powder down the face, I'm gonna go ahead and take the Pretty Vulgar. This is the Powder Room Matte About It powder. Just gonna go ahead and take my brush, tap off the excess, and just lightly dab this here around the entire face. Powder can be a really nice addition to your makeup routine to really help your makeup last a lot longer. It'll really just help set everything down and make sure that your makeup is not gonna budge, especially if you have more oily skin. But if you're using an excess of powder, the only thing that's gonna do is just make your skin look really like dry and crusty and crunchy, and you don't want that. You wanna look youthful and radiant and creamy and fluffy. Because I am looking to get that really nice matte finish here on my nose though, I am gonna use my sponge and apply some powder to my nose and essentially bake my nose. The only place on my face that I will use an excess of powder on is my nose, because my nose is excessively oily. If you are not excessively oily, you do not need an excess of powder. Like, I just want my skin to still look like skin, you know? Okay, so before going on with the rest of the face, we're gonna go ahead and skip on to eyes. I've already done my brows off camera, just because it never changes. It's always the same. If you do want to see how I do my brows, though, I do have a video on brow powders, pencils, and pomades. You can go ahead and check that out up here. To prime my eyes, I'm gonna go ahead and use the Anastasia Beverly Hills Eye Primer. I really like this stuff because it really just gives me a nice flat base to really work on and to make sure that all of my shadows look much more vibrant, because it is a pretty light color. It's almost white. So I just have like a teardrop sized amount here on my finger. I'm gonna go ahead and rub my fingers together and then just apply this here with my fingers. I usually flip-flop back and forth as between whether I use this either with like a sponge or my finger or a brush, but today I am just gonna apply it with my finger. And then go over the area with my sponge to make sure that it's all nice and flat and even. So then our shadows have a nice flat base to work on. And then just going to take my powder brush with no additional powder on it and just kind of dab over this area here so that then my base is not super tacky, and then it'll just be a little bit easier for me to blend all of these nice colors on top of. Okay, so today for eyeshadow, this is an eyeshadow palette that I don't know if I've ever featured on my channel before, but I've had for a very, very long time. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry palette, and oh, look at how it's so glittery. But I really, really like it because it's glitter, but like the glitter does not come off. So I really, really like this. This is more of a palette that is trending right now for fall because of the really, really nice cool tones here in this palette. Cool tone browns are really trending right now for fall. Normally for fall, it's more of like those like oranges, like, you know, warm tone browns, but right now cool tones are trending. So we're gonna go ahead and play around with this today. I think I might do like a halo eye with this. Let's try a halo eye, shall we? Let's try it. To further set my base, I'm going to go ahead and use this shade right here, Fresh, on a fluffy blending brush. And I am just going to go ahead and put this all over the eye from lash to brow. Okay, so next here on a Morphe M330 brush, it's more of like a fluffy tapered blender. I'm going to go ahead and take the shade Twig and run that through the crease. Make sure you tip off the excess and just kind of lightly going here through the crease, making sure that you take your time with your blending. Your blending is going to be the make it or break it portion of your eye look. Because if your eye look is not blended well, then it's just going to look kind of funky. So make sure that you just really, really take your time blending, especially with deeper shades. When you're dealing with really, really light shades, you can kind of get away with not blending them out too much just because it's easier to make mistakes with lighter shades. But when you're working with darker shades, like a single mistake really shows up. So make sure that you're taking extra time if you're working with deeper shades. So next here on more of a large pencil brush, I'm going to go ahead and take this shade right here, Dystopian, and I'm going to go ahead and put that here on the inner portion of the eye and the outer portion, but I'm going to leave the center clear. So just taking itty bitty tiny circles with this shade, I am just going to kind of like really just like lightly dipping into the shadow and then taking very small circles here into this inner corner of the eye and then slowly building up the color and the intensity and blending as I go. This is really the trick to a halo eye, is making sure that you are taking your time with blending and putting things really where you want them to go and then building them up from there, because it can be a slippery slope very quick. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing this shadow up just into the inner portion of the crease right here, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and stop. I like where this is right now, but I think I'm just gonna add a little bit more color right in here. I am gonna deepen it up a little bit more later, but I think I'm gonna stop right there with the inner corner. And as I'm doing this, I'm kind of using the side of the brush as opposed to the very top of the brush. I'm kind of dipping into the shadow kind of like here on the side of the brush. I'm not like going in like this. I'm using more like this so that then I can use the side of the brush and then really, really utilize the very top of that brush to kind of blend things out. Okay, and then so for the outer corner, I'm essentially going to do the same thing. What I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to kind of stamp the pigment kind of where I want it and then blend in tiny, tiny circles. This can be a huge, huge difference for anyone who struggles with trying to get their shadow placement just right, especially when you're working with a, I don't want to say a more difficult eye shape, but sometimes like some eye shapes are really, really hard to make your shadows look just right, especially once you are going around doing your day-to-day thing, because I have hooded eyes. So a halo eye looks really, really nice on a hooded eye shape, because then once I relax my face, you know, I don't have like a ton of, all of the work that I'm doing is kind of like here in the center of the eye, and then it kind of goes from dark to light to dark again. So it looks almost like a nice sunset. But making sure that you take the time to kind of stamp on your color first and then go through and blend. It'll make all the difference in the world when you are trying really, really hard to make sure that your shadow placement is right where you want it to be. And then making sure that you're using a very, very light hand to go through and blend, holding the brush from the very back of the handle to make sure that you're getting a nice light pressure. And voila, one eye is done. Let's go ahead and do the other one. So now to deepen up the inner and outer corners even further, I'm gonna go ahead and take a very, very small light pencil brush and go in with this shade Noir here. It's a nice matte black. And I am going to very, very gently just kind of like place this black right in here, working with very, very tiny circles, and then slowly working my way out. so then you can really build up the intensity. But so then it'll kind of look almost like black, brown, and then like our nice like light shimmer shades, and then brown, and then black again. I'm being very, very careful when I'm dipping into the shadows as well. I am not picking up a ton of product here on my brush. I'm just very, very lightly tapping it into the shadow and then building it up as I go, so then it'll just be easier to blend. It'll be a lot harder to blend if you go in with like a ton of product, especially with like a matte black or like a matte brown. It's really, really hard to get it to look a lot lighter. So just kind of go, take your time, and blend from where you want the most amount of intensity to the least. So kind of like, well, like, I don't know if that makes any sense, but try it that way. Okay, so once I have the black applied to both eyes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take my original blending brush from before that I took with our transition shade, and with no additional product on it, I'm just going to go ahead and do little tiny circles around the edges of the shadow to really just blend everything out. I'm taking very, very light pressure and holding from the very back of the handle. And I tell you, blending things out with your original brush makes all the difference in the world, trust me. I don't know what shimmer shades I want to use. Oh, I'm so basic. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and take this shade right here, this more like bronzy shade. I'm gonna take this one right here, Teak, on my finger, and I am gonna go ahead and apply that on the outermost portions of the center of the eye. So kind of where the brown and black will meet this shimmer shade. Okay, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and take my blending brush with the brown, but with no additional product, and I'm just gonna go ahead and wiggle back and forth between the shimmer shade and where our brown shade is to really just blend these two together. They are going to become one beautiful little happy family. So next what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take this more like rose gold shade here called Rose Quartz on my finger, and I'm just gonna go ahead and put that right here smack dab on the center of the eye. Ooh, this is really pretty. And I'm just gonna kind of bring it up a little bit more from the crease. Ooh, she is real pretty, everyone. She is real pretty. And then taking a really small defining brush, I'm gonna go ahead and go back in with that Rose Quartz, and I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of just place it, wiggle it back and forth between that and the other shimmer shade that we just previously laid down. Okay, so now I'm gonna be a little bit extra, and I'm gonna brighten up the center of the eye even further by taking this shade right here, Pearl, this like really shimmery, like champagne shade, and I am gonna put that right here on the center of the lid and just go straight down with the brush. Okay, and then I'm gonna go back in again with my blending brush. I'm gonna take a little bit of our transition shade and just kind of go very, very lightly through the crease again, and just a little bit here on the outer corner, just to kind of wing this out a little bit here with the shadow. Not too much, not like an actual wing, but just a little bit of wing. Very, very, very lightly. So just like an ever so slight shadow. And then when there's less product left on the brush, I'm gonna go through the crease again to blend it all out. Okay, so now we are gonna go ahead and pop into the lower lash line, and we're essentially going to do the same thing on the lower lash line that we did on the top of the lid, which is going in with your transition shade first and then building up your colors from that medium dark brown into the black, and then doing the shimmers in the middle. So transition, and then taking the matte brown. What I'm doing to get this is I'm really just making sure that I am pinching that brush so then I can really, really get up and close to the lash line so it doesn't look messy. One of the most important things that you need to remember to do when you are working with a halo eye is to make sure that you are really kind of getting the shadow right in here, kind of like just on the tear duct, because then otherwise it just doesn't look right. And it can give you more of like that extended cat eye look, especially if you're blending out here. So let's go ahead and do that. This is probably the most intense halo eye that I've ever done, but I'm living for it. Okay, and then just taking the matte black, just an eensy weensy tiny bit, and just keeping that right there on the immediate inner and outer corners, and then popping those shimmer shades right here on the center of the eye. Okay, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and take my powder brush and sweep away any shadow that may have gotten under the eye, maybe have fallen off the brush, and sweep that all away. I feel like this is just not as blended over here on this side, so I'm not. Okay, so next I'm just gonna go ahead and tightline the top and bottom lashes on the outer corner, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and go across the entire top of the lid with this Smashbox Limitless eyeliner in the shade Onyx. So just like really, really smudging this along the lash line. line across the top lashes, and then here going across tight line. Okay, and then so for the bottom lash line, I'm gonna go ahead and keep the black just on the inner and outer corners. And then to keep the center of the eye nice and bright, I'm gonna go ahead, this is not a high-end product, this is the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in the shade Milk. I don't have a high-end pencil because why bother? You know what, rats? I don't have a high-end mascara either. I mean, guys, let me be truthfully honest with you. The drugstore is where it is at when it comes to mascara. Maybelline is like the mascara brand, okay? Like, if you can convince me that there is a brand out there that sells better mascara than Maybelline, we can go ahead and talk. But other than that, no. I'm just gonna go ahead and use my favorite mascara, which is the Essence Lash Princess False Lash Effect mascara. Okay, and so now I'm gonna go ahead and pop on these Morphe lashes in these are the premium lashes in the style Seductress. You know, guys, I'm not sure if I like this lash for this eye look. These lashes look a lot better on an eye look that's more of like a swooped, like winged liner action. So I don't like these lashes for this look. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and change up the lashes. Okay, so instead what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and pop on these lashes. These are the Morphe lashes in the style Hollywood Hills. I have not tried these yet, but they look very, very similar to the set called Malibu, and I really, really like those. Those were actually just featured in my previous video for fall makeup. Yeah, I definitely like this one a lot better than that other lash, just because I felt like it hid everything that I just did with my eyeshadow, and I'm like, I just worked hard on this. So I definitely like this is more of like a light, fluffy, still not super natural, but like a more of a natural lash. Whew. Okay guys, that was an adventure, but the eyes are finally done. So let's go ahead and move on to the rest of the complexion. I'm gonna go ahead and start out with my bronzer. So for that, I'm gonna be using my Marc Jacobs Omega bronzer in the shade Tantric. I feel like it should have been Tantastic. Does anyone else feel me on that one? Okay, just gonna go ahead and take my slanted brush, gonna go ahead and tap, 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 tap here along the hollows of my cheeks, and then start to blend with tiny circles. So this is more of like a bronzing shade. It's not necessarily like a contour. It's more of like that nice bronzer because it's not really quite warm, but it's not really quite cool either. So it's not necessarily like a bronzing shade, but it's not necessarily contouring either because it's not like that gray tone either. So it's really that nice in-between bronzing shade. Okay, let's just go ahead and sculpt up the jawline. We're gonna go ahead and try to contour away about 10 pounds. Quarantine was not nice to me. I tell you guys, the reason why I feel like quarantine was so hard on me was not necessarily for like what I was eating, but just the fact that I was drinking so much. Like at the beginning of, you know, quarantine here in Michigan, Luke and I, all we did was drink. We were like, oh, okay, well, we don't have to be up at like the butt crack of dawn anymore, so let's just go ahead and we can drink whiskey on the rocks. We can, you know, drink all this stuff down here on our bar downstairs. And then the next thing you know, it was just one thing after another, and now here I was in May and June having had gained 15 pounds from sheerly just from alcohol. And so I purely believe that I was drinking my calories more than anything, which is why I was like, I should probably stop. And so now I'm just gonna go ahead and pinch my brush here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and lightly contour my nose and then blend. And then I'm just gonna go back up the center of my nose with my sponge. Okay, so next here for blush, I have the NARS blush in the shade Glue. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's like this really, really nice like mauve, like neutral tone shade, but it does have like a little bit of like a gold reflect in it. So I am really, really excited to try this out. I don't think I've ever used this before. Maybe? So I'm gonna go very, very lightly because I don't know how, oh, she pigmented. She is pigmented. So I'm just gonna go very, very lightly in small strokes, kind of alternating between like stroking, patting motions and small circles. I'm just gonna kind of like try to blend this out just above my bronzer and then into the hairline. And then I'm also just gonna take like a teensy weensy bit, and I'm just gonna go ahead and run that here along the forehead to again have more of like that monochromatic look going on. Just like a wee bit of peachiness because I feel like I do have more of like a pink undertone. Okay, and so next for highlight, I'm gonna be using the Jaclyn Cosmetics. This is the, I believe this is the Flash palette. Yeah, the Flash palette. So really, really nice light shades for my pale ass. And I'm gonna go ahead and take a mixture between the shade Gleam and Sparks. And just go ahead and apply this to the high points of the cheeks. Ooh. I love how like intense this highlighter can be. Like if I were to use a different kind of brush, if I were to use more of like a concentrated brush, I could really, really make this stuff just, I could glow from space. But I really, really like the fact that if you use a nice like lighter hand, you can also kind of manipulate it to be more along the lines of that really just like light lit from within glow. This was just a bomb collection. Like a bomb collection. And I'm just gonna go ahead and take my finger here in the shade Sparks and go on the tip of the nose and across the bridge of the nose. You can always tone something down if you feel like you've applied a little bit too much of something. You can always go over it with like your powder brush or your blending sponge, just so that then you feel like you've got a little bit more. Oh, actually speaking of a little bit more, I'm gonna try to like see if I can kind of carve out a little bit more here of this bronzer here. I'm gonna go ahead and dip back into my powder with the flat side of my sponge. And I'm just gonna go ahead and make a nice little line right there. And then same thing, just to kind of snatch it up a little bit more, you know? Just a little bit more snatched, not too snatched, snatchral. And then just some here on the chin, just because I get oily on my chin, so why not? Okay, so while that is sitting, let's go ahead and finish up with lips. I don't have a high-end lip liner because, I mean, when it comes to lip liners, I'm not super picky. I'm not ridiculously picky when it comes to lip pencils. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use the NYX retractable lip liner in the shade Dark Red. Okay, so I did kind of overline a little bit, but I mean, like, why not? Especially since we're having family photos done today, so I really just want my lips to look a little bit more full when I'm smiling, because when you have like a nice toothy smile, like, you know, your lips can start to look kind of thin. So if you are overlining and you know that you're gonna be going somewhere where you're gonna be doing lots of smiling, it'll still make your lips look nice and full without looking absolutely crazy. If you wanna see a video on how to make your lips look fuller, you can check out this video up here. Okay, but just so that then I can make sure that my lipstick lasts throughout our family photo session, I'm just gonna fill in the rest of the lip with the lip liner. Okie dokie now. So for the lip color that I have today, I have here, this is the Stila Stay All Day Liquid Lipstick. This is in the shade Bacca, B-A-C-C-A. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Probably am. But I really, really like this because this is a really, really beautiful, like, deep berry shade that I think is really gonna complement this eye. It's gonna be like kind of a lot going on, but it's still like more like neutral-ish tones, so I'm not too concerned. Oh, this lipstick is so luscious and it smells like cupcakes. Okay, I like this. I really, really like this. I love a good berry toned lipstick. But now we're just gonna go ahead and have to do hair. So let's go ahead and do some hair stuff. Oh, I think I've got some, I know that I had something down here somewhere. I just can't. Oh, that was easy. Oh my gosh. Okay, well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and use the edge of my sponge here to kind of get rid of the last of this powder. I could have just used a brush too, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and finish off this look with setting spray. I'm gonna go ahead and use the Gerard Cosmetics Slay All Day setting spray in the scent Coconut. Okay guys, that's it for today's video. If you liked it, go ahead and give me a big ol' thumbs up. It helps other people find the video. And if you want to help other people find this video even faster, then you can share this video. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the little notification bell so you can see more videos of me doing stuff like this. Thank you guys so much. I love you so much, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye y'all.